Hey, this is Connor with CongruentX, and today we are finishing our How to Start a Career in PowerApps series. We're going to wrap things up by creating some reporting so we can answer questions like which ice cream flavors are most popular and who are our best customers. We're going to do all that using PowerBI. So let's jump in. So as you guys can see, we got a bunch of sample data added in here so that our charts and our reporting are a little bit easier to read so we can kind of see what we're doing as we go. I just used Excel and just kind of used random values. A really easy way to import that data is to use this import from Excel function. Just hit import from CSV. So save your Excel file as a comma separated value file, and you'll be able to import and kind of match where the fields go. So to actually create a reporting, we're going to use the Power BI desktop app. As of July, the desktop app is still the place where you're going to actually create reports, right? There's the Power BI desktop and there's the Power BI service. The service is where your reports live and where your users consume the reports. Power BI desktop is where you create reports and data sets. This is what Power BI desktop looks like. You can download it from Microsoft's website. First thing we're going to want to do is log in. So in this top right section, we're going to enter your email address and your password so you can get logged in. So step one is bringing in the data to our report. So we're creating the data set. There's a couple different ways to get this data. The easiest way I found to teach is using this Dataverse button. It might ask you to sign in again, which is what we're going to do here. So you'll pick your specific environment and pick the tables that you want to bring in. For us, that's going to be the contact table, the purchase table, and the ice cream flavor table. You can either hit load here and it will immediately create the data set for you. For us, we're going to hit transform data and we're going to make a couple changes just to get you familiar with the Power Query editor. You'll have two options. There's import or direct query. I'm going to suggest that you use import. All that means is we're going to load the data once to the Power BI service, and the report will use that data. You can set up a refresh to keep the data fresh, but you're always working off of a pre-saved set of data. Direct query is exactly as it sounds. Every time this report is opened, you are live querying the data, which I almost never recommend doing unless that's what you're looking for. We'll see a new window pop up. And again, this is called the Power Query editor. When it comes to data science, there's a lot of different schools of thought. Generally, you want to create a set of fact tables and a dimension table. But for us, we're not going to mess with that. We're going to keep it super simple and just kind of do this the out of the box way. So we'll see here on the left side are three queries. We've got contact, purchases, and ice cream flavors. There's a bunch of cool and unique tools that we can use up in this top ribbon area. This is not going to be a very data focused video. I just want to show you the basics of Power BI and how to connect your Dataverse data to Power BI. The one thing we are going to do is in our contact table, we're going to change the full name field. So right now, since I've got a bunch of sample data, a bunch of the contacts' names have sample after it, which I'm not a huge fan of. So we're going to use a cool feature called column from example. And what that means is you select a column, you click on column from example, and it's going to automatically write the logic for your new column. So for example, if I go down and I type in Yvonne McKay and I don't include the sample, when I click away, watch, after one single example, it already knows, oh, we're just trying to remove sample. And you can see here the code that it's using. It's saying text before delimiter, and it's using that to separate the sample and the actual name of the user. So we'll hit OK. All right, now we've got our new column that got rid of the sample text in our names. Now, if you look to this right side, the applied steps are all of the different manipulations you're doing to your data. And we're going to add one step to every query from here. So for each query, we're going to select the columns that we want to show, right? Because we don't want everything, and it'll help speed up our data set. For this query, since we created a column, I'm actually going to back up one step by clicking on the previous step and click on choose columns. And the reason is I want to choose these columns before we create the column. Doesn't really matter. but that's the way I want to do it. So let's go through and pick all the columns we think we're going to need. So we're on the contact query. We know we're going to need the ID. So contact ID. We know we're going to want the full name. I don't see a use case for first, last name separately, so we're going to leave that out. Yeah, I think that's all we need. So we'll hit OK, and that's going to drastically simplify and hopefully speed up our data set. And the final thing we're going to do to our contact query is change the name of this column. The easiest way to do it is just to double click the column name and change it. I'll just type out full name with a space so we know it's different than the original one. Now let's hop into purchases. Again, we'll choose the columns that we think we're going to need. We can always come back and add them if we miss anything. We know we want the ID. That's the unique ID of each purchase. We'll bring in created on, but I don't think we're going to do anything with dates in this video. We will bring in the customer. So that's going to bring in the link between the purchase and the customer. We're going to bring in the ice cream flavor. Again, the link between a purchase and the ice cream flavor. We will bring in the quantity and the total price. Last but not least, ice cream flavors. We will select the ID, the name, the cost, and the price. Okay, from here, we can hit close and apply, and that will actually create the data set that our report is going to use. Again, we can always edit that in the future. We're not locked into this. So our data got loaded. In this far right section, if we expand each of these tables, here's all the data we've got to work with. Now, there's a lot to Power BI. We're just going to keep things super simple for today. So if you have unanswered questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll try to pick those up. So there's two things I can immediately think that we would want to answer. We would want to answer who are my best customers, so who's ordering the most, and we'd probably want to answer which flavors are the most popular. So let's start with the flavors. There's obviously a bunch of different ways we could visualize this, but everyone's familiar with a pie chart. So we're going to start with a pie chart. The way that you add visuals to your reports is in this visualization section here. All of these different little symbols are different charts that you can pick from. We're going to focus on the pie chart for our flavors. Again, there's multiple ways we could do this. What we're going to do is we're going to use the purchases to determine the most popular flavor. Starting from the top down in our settings of our pie chart here, we're going to pick the name of the ice cream flavor, and we will drag that into our legend. Now, you see in the legend, we have our different flavors. Now need to add values. And what we're going to use for the value is we'll drag the quantity value into the values. So for me, I forgot to cover this. My data automatically came through with the correct relationships. If we click on this model view tab here, we can actually see the relationships it created. So we've got purchases with a many to one to ice cream flavors, and purchases with a many to one to contacts. So if your report isn't behaving as expected, double check and make sure that your relationships did get created. And if they didn't, you can hit manage relationships, click new, select your tables, and then select the two keys that are going to link those two tables together. So for example, from purchases to ice cream flavors, we would use the ice cream flavor column on our purchase table to link to the key of the ice cream flavor table. So we can see it's a pretty dead heat here between vanilla and chocolate, with vanilla coming in at 27.88% of purchases. One of the cool things you can do with Power BI is, I'm actually not a huge fan of pie charts. I think they're kind of hard to see or hard to read, especially in this case where the data is all kind of close. One of the cool things you can do is change visuals on the fly, and Power BI will do its best to try to put your fields in the appropriate places. So for example, if we were to use a stacked bar chart instead of the pie chart, I didn't have to really change any of my columns, and it was able to adapt the visual and give me this different view of the data. I actually like a bar chart better for this use case. The only thing we're going to add is we're going to bring over the name of the ice cream flavor to the legend, right? That way we get the different colors for the different flavors. The last thing we're gonna do is change the name or the title of this visual. So once we're clicked on this visual, we'll click on the formatting section in our visualization, go to general title and change the title. and I'll just change it to most popular flavors. And I like my titles in the center. The second question we were trying to answer is, who's our best customer? So let's do a really similar thing, except this time we're gonna start with the stacked bar chart, because again, not a huge pie chart fan, but everybody knows what they are. So in our y-axis, we're going to use the contact's name, which is going to be, I think it's full name 2. It looks like that's the one we created. I'm not sure why it changed the names there. The x-axis, which is going to be our actual values, we could do a couple different things. We could go by the quantity of scoops ordered, or we could use something like the total price. So who spent the most money with us, which I think that's what we're going to use here. Again, I'm going to drag the full name field back over to the legend so we get different colors, because who doesn't like more colors? Just resizing some things here. All right, so let's just do a couple things to pretty this chart up, right? It's going to be super, super simple. In future projects, we'll get more complicated. I know you're just chomping at the bit, right? That's kind of the goal of this, though. Let's get rid of the legends, because I don't think we really need a legend. You're seeing every value here. There's no reason to have a legend, in my opinion. So go into the formatting, turn off the legends. Let's update the title of this visual to best customers. And in this case, I kind of want some data labels just to make it a little bit easier to read. So you notice this says full name 2. Not a huge fan of that. And the reason is because it's just using the name of the field. We can actually double click here inside of our visualization tab and change the name. So we could say customer, or maybe customer name. And you can do that with all of these, you know, where it says sum of quantity, sum of total price. There's a lot of different customizations we can do here. The last thing I'm gonna cover is this is actually a stacked bar chart, meaning we can have multiple dimensions that we are tracking in this bar chart. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Like right now, we're just showing the total price spent by each customer. So we can actually change the legend here. Right now, we're just using the customer's name. If we were to change the legend to the ice cream flavor's name, we can get a breakdown of each customer spend by ice cream flavor, which is pretty cool. And if we go into the total labels, we can get a total value here at the end, which is pretty cool if you ask me. The last steps here are going to be to save your report, which you can save locally on your computer so you can keep working on it. The last step is to publish to the Power BI service. So we'll go to File, Publish to Power BI, and it'll ask which workspace you want to publish this to. So in Power BI, there's a concept of workspaces. So different people can be a part of different workspaces. For you, you probably just have My Workspace, and that's your personal workspace. There's licensing implications on if other people can see your stuff or not. So don't worry about that. For today, we're just going to publish to your workspace. All right. Now that that's published, we'll head over to PowerBI.com. There's a couple different ways you can get to your workspace. It might be shown here in this center section, or on the left side, you can click Workspaces and click on My Workspace. You'll see two things have been added. We've got our data set, which is the data that is actually feeding this report. And we've got the report itself. How nice is that? That concludes our first project in the How to Start a Career in PowerApps series. We took the requirements from a small ice cream shop and created a basic POS system. We created a database to store all of our data. We created automation that sends thank yous to our customers and sends them coupons. And to wrap it all up in a bow, we created some reporting that lets us know who our best customers are and which flavors are selling the best. Stay tuned for our next project, which is going to get a little bit more complicated and hopefully help you on your journey to becoming a power addict. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. And as always, feel free to reach out to us at CongruentX.com, and we'll see you in the next one.